On the 30th of April 1945, inside of the Fuhrerbunker, underground in the war-torn city of Berlin, Adolf Hitler contemplated his impending fate. It was clear to everyone that the war was lost, and that the final remnants of Nazi Germany lay in ruin, but still the Führer was joined by his close adjutants, including Joseph Goebbels and his wife, Eva Braun, who he'd married hours before. It was clear what was on the horizon, as Hitler had dictated his last will and testament to his secretary, and he stated that the title of Führer was to die with him, with the head roles inside of Nazi Germany being split between Joseph Goebbels, the Chancellor, and then Admiral Karl Donitz, the President. But inside of his study, Hitler died sat next to his wife. However, there is a missing part of the story that is still debated today, and that is the weapon that Hitler used to shoot himself. But what happened to Hitler's death pistol? To support our channel, click subscribe down below. At 1 AM on the 30th of April 1945, Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel informed Hitler that all the forces which Hitler hoped would rescue and relieve Berlin from the onslaught of the Soviet Red Army, which had battered the heart of Hitler's Reich, were disappearing or were encircled. An hour and a half later, at 2:30 AM, Hitler met with a group of attendants and officers who were inside of the corridors, and many of these were women, and he bade them farewell. He shook their hands and spoke with each of the staff, before he then went into his quarters to take his last sleep. When he woke up, the Soviets were within 500 metres of the Fuhrerbunker, and Hitler then met with General Helmer Feidling, who was commanding the Berlin defence area. He was told in that evening that the defence forces would run out of ammunition, and it was clear that the situation was very perilous, and Feidling was given permission to attempt to break out. Hitler then, after this meeting, had lunch with two of his secretaries and his cook, and following this, he then said his goodbye to other members of the bunker's staff, and other people who had taken occupancy there, including Martin Bormann, his personal secretary, Joseph Goebbels, his Minister of Propaganda and close friend, along with his wife Magda, a number of secretaries, and then some military officers. At 2:30 in the afternoon, Hitler, along with his wife Eva Braun, went into his personal study in the bunker, and everyone knew what was coming. People were stood around aimlessly waiting for some message or sign. Shortly after, a gunshot was heard that echoed from the study. Hitler's adjutant, SS Sturmbannführer Otto Genscher, had been stood guard outside of the door, and following the gunshot, Hitler's valet, Heinz Linger, entered the quarters where the study was, and he could smell smoke. He went to the corridor and found Martin Bormann, and the pair then together entered the study. Heinz Linger claimed that when he entered the room, he also smelled burned almonds, which was typical of cyanide poisoning. He then saw the bodies of Hitler and Eva Braun sitting on the sofa in the study. Hitler was sat to the right of Eva. His head had fallen to the side. Otto Genscher then entered the study, and he stated that Eva Braun's body was on the Hitler's left, and her legs had slumped away from him, and that Hitler was sat sunken over, with blood dripping out of his right temple. He had shot himself with his own pistol, a Walther PPK 7.65. Genscher claims it was the Walther PPK that Hitler used inside of his study, but Hitler did have two pistols with him at this time inside of the study, either the Walther PPK or the Walther PP, the larger model. The guns were laying at Hitler's feet, and his blood had made a stain on the right arm of the sofa, which was pooling on the rug below his feet. Genscher then left the study and told the occupants of the bunker that Hitler was dead, and this group, including Joseph Goebbels and two generals, Krebs and Burgdorf, were told. Also informed was Hitler Youth leader Artur Axmann, who saw the body, and then Heinz Linger, with another man, rolled up Hitler's body and corpse in a rug, which was then carried up the stairs of the emergency exit and into the garden behind the Reich Chancellery. The bodies of Hitler and Braun were then burned with petrol. However, what happened to the pistol Hitler used to end his life? It's believed that both of the pistols were inside of the study and were placed in front of Hitler following his death. However, these were then picked up by Otto Genscher, and he examined them, taking a good look at them. But at some point, They were then passed to Artur Axmann, the Hitler Youth leader. It's believed that Axmann picked up the larger weapon, the Walther PP, and he then was to keep this safe. But other accounts claim that Gerhard Weltzin, an adjutant to Artur Axmann, took both pistols, or at least the Walther PPK. But from the Fuhrerbunker, there were a number of breakouts in which members of Hitler's government and staff tried to cross into Soviet lines, or even trying to evade capture. In these breakouts, we know that Martin Bormann was killed in the fighting around the city. However, Axmann and Weltzin both attempted breakouts of their own. Artur Axmann's breakout was much more successful, as he travelled west and he managed to avoid capture at the hands of the Soviets, and he then lived under a false name for many months. He was in December 1945 arrested, and he was then interrogated about his war conduct and also about what happened inside of the Fuhrerbunker. He was also asked about what he had done with the pistol that he had taken from Hitler's study, and he stated that in the chaos he had buried it near to a bridge. He had presumably done this to go back and retrieve it one day, safe in the knowledge that no one else knew where it was. Specifically, Axmann stated that he buried this near to the Sand-Krug Bridge, a bridge which was severely damaged during the Second World War, but it was repaired and a bridge is still there today. However, this pistol has never been found, and it may have been thrown into the river, discarded, just as a piece of waste. But there is a possibility that someone did dig this up or find it over the decades, and that they do not realise the historical symbolism and significance of the pistol. But what of the Walther PPK pistol that belonged to Hitler? Gerhard Weltzin wasn't as fortunate as Axmann, as at the end of the war he was captured by the Soviets inside of Berlin, and it's believed that he would have been forced to hand over the pistol that he had on his possession, the Walther PPK of the Führer. Weltzin died at the hands of the Soviets. However, the PPK was seen as a spoil of war, and a broken and damaged gun was kept inside of the Soviet archives, and it's allegedly still there today. It was even kept on the desk of Stalin as a reminder of his enemy's demise, and it was shown to the people as a gun that Hitler took his life with. This pistol today is kept in the Moscow State Archives as mentioned, along with other pieces of Hitler, including his alleged skull and also his jawbone. It's not known for certain which pistol Hitler used inside of his study that afternoon, as his empire and Reich crumbled around him, and there are still so many questions that emerge regarding the death of Adolf Hitler. It's strange to consider a few things though. Firstly, with Artur Axmann in such a hurry to escape the clutches of the Soviets, as he could have met a quick death, would he have had the time to bury the Walther PP gun belonging to Hitler next to a river? If he wanted to throw it away, he could have thrown it easily in the river, but it's more likely that he buried this weapon to keep it out of the hands of the Soviets, and that he may have believed it could be venerated as a relic of Hitler for centuries to come. Secondly, with Berlin in ruins, Weltzin must have, when he was captured, informed the Soviets about the significance of the weapon. Then this must have been sent straight to Stalin, the Soviet dictator. But if any of the weapons ever were released to museums or were found, then it's likely they would be worth millions of pounds due to their historical significance in the final days of the Second World War. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.